this. Oh, Mickey, you're so fine, you blow my mind. Hey, Mickey. Oh, Mickey, you're so fine, I wanna believe. You take me by the heart and you take me by the hand.
Alright, you know what I have to say about the worst King of the Hill episodes, and let's get up to the best. Grab your riding lawnmowers and let's go to Whataburger. It's time to Texas up YouTube. I just want to watch something else. I'm really behind on Steven Universe. Before we get started on this list, I just want to point out that I'm actually sick right now. I got a sore throat, so if I sound weird, please bear with me. Number 10. I actually met Wendy Davis once. I was a state delegate to the Texas Democratic Convention, and yeah, I almost went national, but I got outvoted in my Senate district. But yeah, the Thursday before the convention really started up, Wendy Davis was at this mixer hosted by the Young Democrats Association, and she photobombed me. There I was trying to get a picture with Texas State Rep. Rafael Encina, and there she was. And I pretty much use that photo for an icebreaker anytime I get the opportunity. So with that information in mind, you're going to have to understand why I picked number 10. This is one of the best examples of Texas-centric episodes. I mean, can you imagine Ann motherfucking Richards, the former governor of Texas, voicing herself? That's the thing, she's voicing herself, and she's totally Michael Jacksoning it up.
I've got to give the keynote at a Hell's Angels rally.
Yeah, she's awesome. And the fact that she's dating Bill, it's just, wow. I can't give this episode as much credit as I want to, though, because, you know, Bill messes it up. And, yeah, that's in character for him, but that doesn't mean we want to see it. Frankly, I'm really pissed off at Lenore for ruining a good thing. Can you imagine Ann Richards as part of the main cast? That would have been awesome. So, you know, yeah, a lot of this episode is just painful to watch. It does culminate very nicely, though, and you know what we do get is just really funny and really Texas-centric, and oh man, look at Ann fucking Richards. Number 9. One of the best episodes of the modern Simpsons era is Mo Baby Blues. I actually don't know if I put it on my best modern Simpsons list. I thought I honorable mentioned it, I don't remember. Anyway, what made that episode so interesting was that it took two characters who were like miles apart, it put them together, and it let the chemistry develop. Mo and Maggie were, you know, not a couple of characters we were used to seeing together, and a similar formula is at work here. In this season 12 episode, the penultimate season of the series, where Minh joins the gun club. So we see the interaction between these two groups that really shouldn't have anything to do together, but they like each other a lot. I especially appreciate how none of the gun club members seem romantically interested in Minh. They just really appreciate her skills and, you know, the talent that she brings. When Minh goes to Nine Rivers Country Club, the club is torn up over losing her, and she's kind of torn up over leaving them. It's a nice friendship that I wish we could have seen more of. There really is a nice sincere element of camaraderie to it. As you'll learn from the later entries in this list, I'm a particular sucker for the, oh my god, are they really doing this outrageous thing type of climaxes. And this is no exception. It's not particularly insane, but the idea that the gun club members are going all stealth on this exquisite country club is amazing. Number 8. Dale Gribble is the light of my life. Every scene with him is great. Every scene not about him that has him in it just makes the scene better. You know, King of the Hill was canceled in part because, you know, Fox wanted to try out the Cleveland show. Well, why does Cleveland get a spinoff? He sucks. I wanted the Dale Gribble spinoff where he moves to D.C., but maybe he thinks it's a hologram, or he works as the personal exterminator to the president, and, you know, come on, do it something. If I were being honest, Dale-centric episodes would probably make up the bulk of this list, but yeah, I want to be fair, so we'll pick this big one, Soldier of Misfortune. He goes to his lowest, and then he rises back up, because he's smarter than he looks, but dumber than he seems. Dale is depressed when he is ousted by a leader of the gun club by a crazy person who is actually dangerous, and so Hank and Co. conspire to help him get his self-esteem back by setting him up on a fake mission. He fails at this miserably, and everything goes to shit from there. And not only is it a funny episode, but Dale actually gets the gun club back in the end through impressive means. Like, you can tell he worked and he had to plan out this shit. It's gotta be my favorite Dale episode because Dale is just so awesome in it. I love you, Dale. Please marry me. Number 7. Does this count as a Dale-centric episode? I mean, I don't think it does, but it's clearly up there. Okay, listen, this is the episode that... Okay, Mike Judge once wrote that he apparently got a lot of letters from King of the Hill fans over the years, and one of the biggest responses to letters he got was from this one. He said that it inspired a lot of people to come out as gay to their families. And that's, really heartwarming. But it's even more heartwarming by the fact that this episode came out in April of 2002. Now, you need to understand one thing. Being gay in Texas was not legal until 14 months later. Yeah, I just want you to remember that. The same time that you saw Finding Nemo in theaters, you could have lived in one of 17 states where you could be arrested or prosecuted for what you decide to do with your own penis and or butthole in relation to a separate penis and or butthole. We had penis butthole regulations in this fucking state. Oh, and also when SCOTUS struck down the ruling, Governor Rick Perry said that it was the decision of 9 oligarchs in robes and that Texans had different opinions from them. Except he said that in 2010, 9 years afterwards. Wait, I lost my train. Oh yeah, one more thing. The law is still on the books. It's unenforceable, but any attempts to actually get it off of the Texas criminal statute have failed. Okay, now I lost my train of thought. Okay, now I'm better. Anyway, this is the episode where Dale has a gay dad and there's the gay rodeo, and that's amazing. I think my favorite part of this episode is that Dale doesn't have any problem with his dad being gay. He's super accepting of it. But the thought that he might be a federal agent, that is inexcusable for Dale. It's so perfectly in character for him that I cry of laughter every time I even think about it, because it's just so perfect. Seeing Dale reunite with his estranged dad is really heartwarming, and this whole episode veers into some territory that I don't expect from a show like this at this point in time. People tell me King of the Hill is a conservative show. I don't see it. I think it's just a Texan show, and Texans are just a little weird. We have our gay rodeos, and we like them. We honor that tradition. Number 6. Look, I like a good Dale episode, but there's something better about a good Bill episode. Bill loses so much. That's his character trait. Whenever he does win, it's fantastic. But I have to say my favorite Bill wins episode is, well, the one where he steals a tank from an army base. This is the episode where Bill discovers that the reason that he's fat and bald and lazy and so on is because when he was in the army, they gave him super vitamin shots meant to turn him into a perfect Arctic warfare soldier, sort of. And then Bill goes melancholic because he gave the army 20 years of his life, and this is how they repay him. Honestly, it's a really nice tribute to Bill. I mean, whenever Bill is the laughingstock of the joke, we always supposed to say, aw, he's so sad. But this is the episode, well, one of the episodes anyway, that really gets him at how much it's... This is one of the few episodes that really gets to how much he suffers inside. It's really good to see Bill go outrageous like this because his rage is one of righteousness. Honestly, I was kind of on the fence whether this or Pretty Dresses deserved this spot. I do think that this episode is more grand and shows that what Bill can be, as opposed to Pretty Dresses, which was kind of streamlined, although it probably was more emotionally impactful. Which episode do you think is better? Tell me in the comments. And that was my pandering for this video. Number 5. I've watched a lot of episodes of King of the Hill, and of all of Hank's famous bois moments, this has probably got to be the best. Listen carefully.
Place of birth, New York, New York.
That is the kind of blah you do when you hear something that changes the very essence of your being. You can hear it in the second note shift, just more intense than the previous. It is beautiful. This is the episode is mostly Hank complaining that he was expelled from his mother's uterus within the not real borders of one particular U.S. state, as opposed to the not real borders of another particular U.S. state. I realize, but it's more than that. Being a Texan is a big part of Hank's identity. Hank is a father, he's a propane salesman, he's a Methodist, he's a Texan. There are these things that Hank knows to be true. When something you discover about yourself is false, it messes with you. A lot of people probably wouldn't get it because it's just, oh, he's upset he wasn't born in Texas. But this episode is surprisingly sympathetic to him. This episode realizes that Hank is having an identity crisis. He's been lied to. Hell, if I would probably be freaked out if when I was 40 my parents lied to me and said, sorry son, your birth certificate is a lie. You were born in California. And listen, my family has been in Texas since Texas was a part of Mexico, okay? And then, for no adequately explained but hardly necessary reason, this episode shifts into a B-plot where Cotton and his old war buddies try and go to Cuba to kill Fidel Castro, and then try to frame Hank for it under the guise of a Texaning man's night out. It's I don't know what to tell you. It's hilarious. It's just, look at them. They're trying to go and kill Castro. And then Hank's drunk. This is an episode that, oh, hey, shit, I've been down that road. Oh, shit, I've been near the Alamo. Hey, San Antonio, I love you. Yeah. Anyway, this episode is just, I mean, it's hilarious, but it's also very personal. And that B-plot I mentioned earlier gives round to a nice bit of feel-good patriotism. An idea that, you aren't where you were born, you are just who you are. It's very nice. It's really pleasant to watch. I don't know, this episode just makes me feel good.
Oh, I just wanted to kill Castro.
Number 4. There are some bits of entertainment that are seen as comedy classics throughout the ages, like that Looney Tunes opera short or the Steamboat Willie. I don't know. The point is, there are some bits of comedy, animated comedy especially, that are just considered universally excellent. Running out to the end of the century, I know this wasn't that long ago, but I want to nominate this as a comedy classic. This is by far the funniest episode of King of the Hill in terms of just amounts of jokes they throw and amounts of jokes that stick. This is the best comedy I've ever seen. The timing is great. The slapstick is amazing. Even the plot is strong. It's framed under the guise of the story being told through flashbacks while they're trying to figure out how the fire department burned down. That is, oh my god. It's really hard to talk about comedy because you can't say it so much without spoiling the jokes. So you just gotta watch this. It's not entirely without substance either. There's this little heartwarming montage where Hank describes the gang and is told with, them as children aging up into being heroes. Please watch this episode and then die of laughter. Number 3. To the funny one, I gotta talk about this, do I? Damn it, I should have written a better list. Okay, if you're into King of the Hill, or maybe you're into animation, you probably know the story I'm about to tell. If you don't, just bear with me for a moment. On April 20th, 1999, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold shot up their high school in Columbine, Colorado. There were many innocent teenagers who died, but one young woman who survived the shooting had said that, okay, if I make it out of here, I'm going to confess my romantic feelings toward a classmate, if, we both make it out of here. She had never gotten the opportunity to confess those feelings. I mean, she made it out of the shooting, but the boy she liked did not. And the boy she liked who died in the shooting was one of the shooters. Yeah, I thought I had bad luck. So she's traumatized. She doesn't know how to feel. She's dealing with all these emotions. The United States had never seen something of this caliber at this time. Nowadays, we hold drills for it, but back then, it wasn't really normal, so we weren't exactly sure how to feel, and obviously, she wasn't sure how to feel either. But then, 2 weeks to the day of the Columbine shooting, she's watching TV, and wouldn't you know it, this very apt episode of King of the Hill comes on about, well, facing your demons. Now, this episode comes at the end of Season 3, and Luann had spent this entire season in mourning, recovering from Buckley's death at the hands of the propane boom and propane boom. And this is the one where she starts seeing his angel at the trampoline. Seeing her be so close to the trampoline angel, and then realize that she doesn't need the angel, she can live her own life, she doesn't have to let go to the past, and now, let's be honest, Buckley was never really that good a guy to begin with. It's very inspiring. It's nice, and it's very easy to see how this can help someone overcome any kind of grief. And the timing was just amazing. It's great to see Luann empower herself. And just, move on. Frankly, I've never sympathized with Luann as much as I have here. And in this arc, and in this episode in particular. So, this is that very nice episode. It's very life-affirming. I think it's really important. Oh, and you know what else came out of Columbine? That fucking Flyleaf song about that thing that never happened. That Cassie thing is a complete myth that didn't happen to her, and that she's martyrized, and you go, and when they tell her along, they go la 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 in the ears, and promote that. Oh, God damn it, I hate Flyleaf. I hate Flyleaf so fucking much. I hate Lacey Storm. I hate her so fucking much. That little rant lightened up the mood, because, I kind of distracted the fact that I didn't put this very emotional episode, number 1. And in fact, number 2 episode is number 2. So this is just a good episode of television. I know this one is really popular on Tumblr for bringing the Texas family to Japan, but this episode is more than Malcolm in the Middle's annual vacation episodes. This is an episode about Cotton Hill trying to atone for his actions. Michiko. That's the name of the nurse who tended to his wounds during World War II. And, based on the flashbacks we get, he really seemed to care about this woman, and, he regretted, just not being able to spend time with her and abandoning her like he did. I mean, yeah, it's his story, and I guess he's not a reliable narrator, but based on what we get from the episode, it's pretty sincere. This is probably the most humanizing Cotton episode since When Cotton Comes Marching Home, which is on my honorable mentions list for the record. And then the revelation that Cotton actually had a child from this, war affair, Junichiro, it hits Hank. It hits him really hard. You can tell how excited he is that he finally has a brother. And then you can just tell how Bobby's romance with that random Japanese girl, it's just very subtle, it's very sweet. You can tell they like each other. Peggy is okay. And look, this episode hits some emotional high notes. I'm not going to deny that. The comedy, just as great. Most of it stems from the culture clashing, which is hilarious enough. But then also most of it comes from Cotton's self-described rampage goes on when Junichiro scorns him for, sleeping with his mother and making her an outcast from society and then not calling back for about 40 years. Yeah, I can't say I blame Junichiro too much. But it's still pretty funny to watch everything. And beyond everything else, this is an ambitious episode. One of the strengths of King of the Hill is that it's willing to take what's funny in reality. But sometimes reality is extravagant. Reality is grand and it doesn't make sense. This episode knows that. This episode understands that. It's really, really moving. It's really funny. And you can tell they put their passion in it. It's unlike any other episode of King of the Hill, and it's not my number 1 pick, because you want to know what is my number 1 pick? Here are the honorable mentions. Unfortunate Son. This is an episode that either The Simpsons won't do, or it could do, but a hell of a lot better. Like I just said, real life isn't always grounded and boring. Sometimes you get weird shit happening. Seeing the interactions between these 2 different generations of veteran is very interesting from a storytelling perspective. And then, of course, watching the Vietnam veterans hunt Cotton because Cotton is an ass who purposely gave them war flashbacks is just amazing. It's hilarious. Then also, Falcon.
Sweet attack.
9 Pretty Darn Angry Men. Yeah, this is an awesome 12 Angry Men parody about a lawnmower focus group. It's got some really good character interactions. You can tell that the writers know how their character works. Hank saves the day from worthless riding mowers that don't work no more. My riding lawnmower doesn't work no more. I don't see why. We've never replaced the oil filter, and it's only been outside. We haven't turned it on for 4 years. Worthless. Perils of Polling. Yeah, like I said before, King of the Hill is not a conservative show. People say it is, but it is not. It is a Texan show. This episode is as political as it gets. And you know what? It's not alienating any audience member. It's not explicitly endorsing anyone or condoning anyone for believing in something else. It's really kind of subversive. Hank is endorsing George Bush for president because he's the very popular governor of the state that he lives in. And then, just as he's chastising Luann for only thinking of the candidate's attractiveness, Hank struggles with his vote because George doesn't give a good handshake. Which I totally believe, for the record. Their entire family is from New England. Ugh, just barf already. New England. Worthless. This totally would have been number 11 on the list, and I kind of wanted to make this a number 11 list just because I like this episode so much. Honestly, I can't find that much to say about the episode. George Bush, then governor of Texas, was offered to voice himself but didn't, and I consider that to be the biggest mistake of his political career. Oh yeah. Oh my fuck, I love this episode. Snoop Dogg as the OKC pimp, the prostitute plot. Hank just owns all the pimp stuff. It's really good. You gotta watch this. Oh, the contrast between real life and what the Hills don't know. Texas Skillsaw Massacre. This is the closest that Hank gets to learning a lesson. Hank meets a guy he kind of sympathizes with. They both get angry a lot, except the guy that he likes dies because of his race. It's pretty cool, but it's also weird that his anger is demonized, at least in universe, when it's most relatable of any of his anger I've ever seen. Orange, you glad I didn't say banana? Khan is actually one of my favorite characters on this show. I don't know why I didn't put a Khan episode on the actual top 10, but nah. And as a person of color who's interested in living their own life and pretty much doing whatever the hell I want, I also sympathize with that. I don't know. To me, this episode really gets home some of the, whole you need to do what your culture says thing and that little, restrictions that we put on ourselves. And I don't know. I relate to it. I like it a lot. When Cotton Comes Marching Home. Told you it would be on here. Yeah, this has got to be one of my favorite Cotton episodes because he tries. He honest to God does. He tries to get a job, and he tries to do right by his family, but damn does he get pushed. I love Cotton on the grounds that he's a hilarious sociopath, and for once, his rampage is completely understandable. This episode humanizes him in a way that a lot don't. Maid and Arlen. I'm glad this episode didn't end with Bill and Lyoma breaking up. That being said, we don't see Lyoma again, but I have a headcanon. That headcanon is that this is the chronological final episode of this series. That's right, this takes place after To Sirloin with Love. So they do end up happy ever after all. Haha, Bystand Me doesn't exist. Hey, shut up. 3 days of Khando. Yep, love me that Khan. He's a hilarious jerk. And they go to Mexico, the Hills, and the Susanusophones, and Dale for some reason. Yeah, you watch this episode, you can tell this was made before 9/11, and in modern hindsight, it's a little uncomfortable.
He's been pushing Connie all these years, and he's the one that broke.
Yep, pretty much. Like I said with Orange You Sad, I didn't say banana. This is just, taking all that's culturally expected of you and throwing it out the window. Jimmy Wang Yang would be so proud. We love you, Jimmy. And the number one best King of the Hill episode is Hillenium. Yep, this is my number one pick. This one. Not Returning Japanese, not Bobby Goes Nuts, not the Snoop Dogg one, not the firefighting episode, not the video game episode, not even one of the 3 con episodes I should have put in the top 10. Not even the gay rodeo episode, not Wings of the Dope, but this one. The fucking goddamn Y2K episode is my favorite episode of King of the Hill, and it's based on an event that I was way too young to remember. And that all sorts of other shows have done this plot to death. Hear me out. Dilbert, My Name is Earl, and Family Guy, back when it was actually something worthwhile, they all did Y2K episodes. They were all different, but they were all very funny. Y2K dates an episode hard, but it's also a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Hell, that My Name is Earl one got made as a flashback episode in like 2004 or 6, I think. But a good thing about a Y2K episode is that it captures a feeling in time. The anxiety that comes with the potential for the end of society. I don't remember Y2K, but I definitely remember the 2012 Mind Scare that had its fair share of episodes. I guess, to be fair, it was easy for me and other people to dismiss that because it was a misreading of a calendar used by a pre-Columbian civilization. And for that to be the end of the world, it was just silly. Y2K was different. You can, in this episode, understand why people would believe it was the end times, or at least where a bad moon was on the rise. The world was falling in love with computers, the new technology. It was taking over the world. And there was concern that the 00 years would cause confusion in systems not prepared to handle it, that chaos would ensue. And yeah, it's a concern that really doesn't stand up to much critical thought. But I'm saying that with 16 years of hindsight, I'm on a fucking high horse when I say that's ridiculous. It's easy to see where things could go wrong. 2000 was a big round number. It's easy to get up in all the hysteria. Hank Hill starts out skeptical of this thing that everyone is talking about, but slowly and most importantly, realistically, he starts to buy into the hysteria that everyone is talking about. You know, when he sees his friends, when he sees his higher-ups get worried about this, he starts to realize, oh my God, this could actually be something big. I better be prepared. So Hank Hill decides to hoard, he decides to prepare for the end of the world, and it's very strange. This is actually a Christmas episode. And it really deals with, like, what people were actually... This is what I'm saying when I'm talking about King of the Hill is grounded in reality. It can capture the most, like, personal feelings without much exaggeration or without any failure of nuance. It really captures something about, you know, paranoia, anxiety, and concern. And, of course, not everyone buys into it, but it's easy to see how you can. Hank Hill gets high on varnish and then has a hallucinogenic dream that is actually one of my favorite moments, probably in all-time television history. He has a dream that he's a mole in a whack-a-mole game, and when he sees everyone else coming up for air, he's worried that they're just going to get hit. So, obviously, he keeps it stayed down. He sees Bobby huddled up in the corner, trying to protect himself from anything resembling what's outside of the box. And Hank knows that's wrong, but he also doesn't want to get up either. And then Tom Landry comes up and then gives him an inspirational speech. He talks about how that not every time you go up, you get hit. And every time you go up, you see something beyond yourself. You see something different. There's a risk involved, but what is life without the risk? Even if things go wrong, life is still worth living. Life is something beautiful. Life is something you have to do even when, and especially when there is a big risk that you might get hurt doing it. I just want to point out, I live pretty close to the city where Tom Landry was born and raised, and there's a street named after him. Tom Landry Middle School could be a real thing. And so, yeah. And like all the Y2K episodes get caught up with the funny of it. And those are all great episodes. But there's something that goes the extra mile about something that's really willing to grab a moment in time of mass hysteria, mass panic, and to just look at the chaos and just be something so optimistic, so upwarming, something that says, you know, even when the worst happens, you gotta keep your head up, you gotta survive, you got to live your life, you just have to. And this episode really plays into the rejection of fear. This episode plays into the desire and the love of life. And for that, for something that I've never seen another episode of television be able to perfectly capture this sort of thing, that is why this is, in my opinion, the greatest King of the Hill episode of all time. And that concludes my video on the best King of the Hill episodes ever made. I had a lot of fun doing this video. If you disagree with the list, please feel free to talk about it in the comments below. I love good King of the Hill discourse, and you can't find a lot of it. If you want to support this show, please put your money inside the CD drive of your computer. I will find a way to get it, trust me. I have no idea what I'm doing next. If you want to offer your suggestions for a video, go right on ahead. Until next time, take care. It was just raining a second ago. Still raining a little bit. I should put this thing inside. The tripod I got set up.